we've grown. We got almost 13,000 listeners. We got 2 million views on YouTube. We have over 500,000 listens on audio. What kind of obligation do you feel?
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
The one that kept me up at night was Clark Fredericks. I've said this before, but that actually, I didn't sleep that night hearing that. And I knew the story going in. I read enough about it. Clark had told me a little bit, but hearing it out of his mouth, I remember laying in bed and just staring up at the ceiling, thinking that stuff over and over. Because there's a lot of backstory to that I don't really want to get into, but there's more to his story as it relates to me. And that was one where I was like, holy, this is real. Gene was tough. Gene was tough, but it didn't keep me up at night because it was a bad story that I was hearing, and I didn't feel it. With Clark's story, I felt it.
Yeah.
And that sucked.
Personal connection.
Yeah, it really was difficult for me to listen to. But that being said, it has opened new doors for me in the way that I deal with my own past.
Yep.
His strength, sort of rubbed off on me a little bit. But even our guests have gotten a little bit better at doing this. I was listening to episode 13, Mike DePalma, first time he came in. Mike said and ah about 5 million times. And we just had him in here for episode 158, Suffering of Fun, and
But see, Mike didn't really know you all that well.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was that comfortable.
I still don't think he's comfortable.
Listen, he'll stay here all night. We could do a 5-hour episode with him. Put a mic in front of him now. But I think he kind of did it as a favor to me because, we went to the academy together and everything. And then he just became part of the show. Like you said, he was and on. And another one, he talked some deep, dark stuff.
He really
like
did.
I said, I knew that he'd been a military veteran. I know he saw action and all that. But he never talked about it in the police academy. He was just, and that was.
He has become such a good friend to the show.
He was texting us today with clips of the show.
Yeah, I know. So Mike DePalma, Mike is an incredibly smart and bright guy.
Unbelievable.
When he comes in this show, he becomes. There's a great story about when they were doing Vegas Vacation. And Randy Quaid did not want to do Vegas Vacation.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to play that idiot anymore. I don't want to do it. And I'm not saying Mike's an idiot, but all of a sudden they showed Randy Quaid the paycheck of what he would get. And he just sort of tilted his head and became Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
And Mike has sacrificed himself. He comes in here and he turns it on. Like he does. He's an incredibly caring person with the most gigantic heart you'll ever see in your life. And, but you really do see part of the real Mike DePalma in the Suffering of Fun.
And he's a security manager. Like you said, he's not a dope.
No.
But he comes in here and he plays the Cousin Eddie when he comes in.
He's like Foster Brooks. Foster Brooks never drank, but always played a drunk. Always.
All right, one show that gave you anxiety on the build on the week coming up.
Mike Dowd?
Yeah.
I think Mike Dowd. And the reason it gave me anxiety is not because of his story, is I thought he was going to cancel out. I would have bet green money. And I usually get a pretty good feeling, you do too, when a guest is not 100% there.
Like when they don't realize it's Easter weekend, their family's going to be away?
Yeah. No, Memorial Day. It was Memorial Day. Thank God we were doing a double that day. And but that's the one that gave me anxiety, not because of speaking to him. He's obviously of the 7'5" fame on Netflix, but it was, I didn't think he was going to show up. And sure enough, he comes up in his busted ass Corolla.
Without even knowing him, we busted his ass. So, doing pretty good. You pull up in this nice limo.
They're going to get me. No, they're going to get me. He was a little gun shy at that point, but Mike's a friend.
Yeah,
absolutely. We got this
weird base of friends.
It's crazy. Like people ask me, like, how the hell you know this person? Well, It all starts with somebody who was born a man and is now a woman. It's like this weird roundabout thing. Here's the most difficult question for you. Let's say tomorrow the show ends. What are you going to do?
Find someone else that'll take me on as a partner. Because, I mean, I just look so forward to this. I really do. And it's not only for us, and like I said, we say it all the time, you're my best friend. And this to me is best friends getting together and talking to other people, and hearing their stories. And it warms my heart that we're actually helping people by doing something that we love. So it would be tough if we decided to turn out the lights tonight. It would be hard to get used to.
I think it would be as difficult for me, probably a little bit, especially if it's an abrupt thing.
Yeah.
It would be as difficult to me as leaving the police department.
Yeah.
I've invested so much of my life into this show at the detriment of my own family. I've missed kids' games. I've missed special events with my wife. I've missed, things with friends to do this show because it's important to me. It's really important to me. And I'm not wishing this. I'm not putting it out in the ether. But the creative outlet in doing this show and putting together something that's valuable to certain people, God, what it fills me up with is it's healing certain people. It's reaching certain people. If that were to end tomorrow, I would be absolutely fucking devastated.
Yeah, without doubt. Because, we say this gives us purpose now. Our law enforcement careers gave us purpose. Once that was over, I'm not saying we didn't have a purpose, but
we were shiftless.
We didn't have a purpose in helping people anymore. Now we have that purpose. And if they take that from us again.
Fast forward 6 and 7 years from our police careers, and we're sitting in front of microphones. And
but the person you have to thank for all of this, Dr. Stefanelli.
Dr. Steph. Yeah.
If it wasn't for Dr. Steph, there would probably be no Suffering Podcast.
Probably. He gave us the format.
That's group therapy.
Yeah, he gave us the format.
Like we say all the time, this is an extension of group therapy.
You never want a group therapy to end.
No.
You never want it to end.
Well, unless we're going out to the bar after it.
Yeah. Those bad days. Those are just bad days.
No, but and like I said, it's because of guys like him. I mean, he's got a purpose. His purpose is to help people and let them air out their feelings and their thoughts, and whether they be good thoughts or bad thoughts, and
their truth.
Yeah,
their truth.
And we felt comfortable in front of those people. And like I said, I think the way
you got people who you're talking to you've never met, it's the comfort level's a little different.
Oh yeah. But the way those group meetings were run, it was just so comfortable. And like I said, that's what I think. That's why I think this is getting so big, is because we make people feel comfortable.
Well, where do you think it's going in the future?
I hope it just keeps going up. Like you said, what's it? Mission,
message, and
money. Take the money out.
We've been fortunate. Okay, so we're more fortunate than most in the podcasting world, because thankfully, through some gracious sponsors, Toyota of Hackensack, and some other sponsors along the way,
Caffeine Water,
Hackensack Brewing Company,
yeah.
We have not had to take money out of our own pocket.
Yep.
To do this. We're very ultra fortunate that we're able to have these people in our corner.
But we're not putting money in our pocket either.
No, we're not. So, and I don't think we ever will.
Listen, if it comes, it comes.
Yeah.
We're not doing this for the money.
In the future, what if I had a wish list? We just did Christmas wishes on Instagram Live. My wish is that, obviously we've spoken to Andrew about this, one room just for us.
Yep.
And this is what we do. Like, this is what we do full time. Is that ever going to happen? Is it? I have to see it, and I have to work towards that.
We did have a plan in the beginning, though, if you think.
With Aruba, yeah.
We were going to try to get so big. We were going to have our studio in Aruba, and we are going to live there.
It was all remote. And with audio, you could do that because, you could do it now. It's but we choose not to do the Zoom podcasts. I know a lot of people out there, and I'm not knocking the Zoom podcast because a lot of my friends do it. It's just not for us.
Yeah.
I think that's something, if there's one thing throughout this whole process that you and I have been on the same page with from day one, no Zoom.
No. Well, we did, the Gold Shield show, not our show.
Our show,
Zoom.
no.
We did the one in Florida Zoom, and
that was a nightmare.
That was a nightmare. It kept cutting in.
Good
and
people.
out. Great people. It was a great podcast, too, but it was just a nightmare.
And it's hard to judge. Like, when I see you take a breath in, I know you're about to talk.
And like you said, we got to read the guests. We got to read body language, and if they're talking about their darkest thing, and you see them just like hunching over, that's when I'll try to throw some levity in there, just to perk them up a little bit and everything else. You got to be able to read them.
Yeah, and when they're going down like that, you don't want to say, so when they grabbed you by the throat,
yeah, exactly.
How'd that feel?
Those are like almost taking your last breath.
Yeah. That's a tough thing. So we chose not to do Zoom. And to the detriment of our show,
we could have got some people. We could have got a lot of people.
We could have gotten that just opens up your guest list, because right now we have to find people who are either willing to travel or in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area.
And we've done it where people were traveling here, so we had to set it up that week.
Mm-hmm.
With Amanda Coleman.
Right.
We could have easily did a remote with her or a Zoom with her from Ireland.
Well, think about the domino effect of our guests getting us other guests. Yeah. Stewie, Mike DePalma, Amanda Coleman, and each person has. Hey, listen,
I got a guy for you.
You got to give this guy a call.
Stewie got us J.C. Capone.
Yep.
I mean, how the hell would we ever know a J.C. Capone? From Long Island.
Mm.
And.
Well, by the way, I'm going to speak. Remind me to tell you something about J.C. Capone, because it's actually kind of funny.
Just through, we brought up De Palma before. Think of all the people De Palma got us just through that Hoboken connection.
I mean, it's
Benny Love, Butchie Sanchez.
Yep. Stewie. Yeah. So a lot of it started. I think Mike De Palma
Hoboken Mike.
Yeah. I think Mike De Palma is probably the springboard for so many of our guests, because then it's spider webbed out. So J.C. Capone, this is a little something for everybody. He's producing a movie, and he calls me up, and he's fucked up too. He's just, his sense of humor is so fucked up. He's, hey, I'm putting together this movie, and there's a spot in it for you and Mike. I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, we're going to do like this mock podcast, and you guys are going to be the host. And I said, I might have to do some research on that one. I don't know whether I fit that part. So coming soon, hopefully.
To a theater near you.
Yeah, to a theater near you.
To a Netflix special by you.
Mike and Kevin doing some fucking movie. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Do we have to put makeup on?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right, and I just want a gauge. If I'm not mistaken, we did 4 live, well, not live, but 4 remote shows.
Sounds right.
All right. Hackensack Brewing Company was one.
Mm-hmm.
Live Free Farm.
I forgot about Live Free Farm.
Then we did Grand Saloon and Mickey's. Think of the production from the beginning of that to the end.
Oh.
That's a gauge to show you how far the show's come.
So that Hackensack, that was our first live event. Freaking nightmare. Number one, all of our equipment to continue our podcast is sitting out there in the elements.
Yep.
And if you remember, Hackensack Brewing was hot as hell, and then it started raining.
Started pouring. We had one of those summer high heat humid thunderstorm roll in.
And the wind,
holding down the tents.
We're holding down the tent, trying to keep our stuff, like throwing stuff into the bins. I had those cases, those hard cases, throwing stuff in there so it doesn't get ruined. My computer's laying out there. God, what a nightmare.
We didn't have a speaker so the crowd could hear us, because there's a whole crowd just sitting there looking at us and can't hear anything.
Lesson learned.
Live Free Farm was the same way though.
Well,
we were on the trailer.
Well, oh no, we did. You're missing one. Blue Magazine.
Blue Magazine. Yep.
So Live Free Farm, we actually had a speaker out. It was a little small speaker. At least they could hear. They could gather around a speaker and hear. And that was a nice little event. But for Blue Magazine one, when we did Sheriff Clark, that one, that was another one. It was hot as hell. We're sitting out there in the sun, just baking, and trying to put on this show.
Yeah, Blue Magazine was on the trailer. Live Free Farm, we were under the tent.
We were under the tent. But then Andrew comes in, and now things started getting a little bit easier because we had somebody working behind the camera. And, you know, the other ones were just audio. And Grand Saloon had its challenges.
Yeah.
But it was so much. The pressure was off. We used to carry, like, my car would be packed with equipment. We looked like we needed a roadie.
Yeah, no kidding.
To take all the stuff out that we had. That was rough.
But then the last one we just did at Mickey's.
That was beautiful.
It was great.
That was the easiest one we ever did.
Again, thanks to Andrew. We made a lot of that easier for us. But I mean, we've come a long way.
Yeah. So what obligation do you feel towards the show now? We're 100. This is 164. We've grown. We got almost 13,000 listeners. We got 2 million views on YouTube. We have over 500,000 listens on audio. What kind of obligation do you feel?
I think the obligation is to bring your A game every week.
Yeah.
And there's some days we're down. I mean, we don't all have good days. There are days we come up here after we've had a terrible day, but we'll talk about it. Kev, such and such happened today, and I'm really not feeling it. And you'll be able to pick me up, and that's.
Or I know when to pick you up on camera. When I know in the back of my head, that's the transparency that we have. When I know you're having a rough day, I know that, okay, you're going to be a little bit more reserved on this show. But see, somebody like me who's fucking neurotic, I cut my hair every week. I make sure that I bring a change of clothes, and I'm just neurotic because, again, I feel obligated towards the people that listen to us
exactly
to bring that A game.
Yep, without doubt. I mean, because a lot of people look forward to this.
Yeah.
We were talking. You see them all come up on Instagram Live. We have a lot of hardened fans that comment on every episode that's up on YouTube.
And
Everyone.
And it's that wide net that we cast, just hoping to get that one.
And these are some people that we have talked to individually that don't live around here, but they latched onto the show somehow. We've talked to them on a personal note.
We get these nice gifts things like that, and they means the world to me because when we get skewed from our mission, those things just bring us right back.
Yeah.
That text message or that message we got over social media about our show helped him out through tough times. He's coming in here too, which is awesome.
He was staring at the draw.
Yeah,
that was deep. And that's what we owe this to. We don't owe it to each other. I mean, we owe it to each other to show up and hopefully bring our A game and do our best. But it's really for everybody that's listening because this show is, like you said, from that text we got the other day. The show's helping people.
My obligation does go to you a lot. All right. I feel obligated to make sure everything is in place so you and I can do our thing. Like to not even worry about the administrative stuff on the back end. So we can come in here and concentrate on the show. Lights and cameras on, we're ready to go, and we have everything we need. We don't have to worry about anything. That's my obligation. My obligation is to you to keep this thing going and going and going and going.
Well, listen, you're doing a good job of it. I tell you all the time, you're the main part of this. I'm just a little cog.
Yeah, but
that keeps the engine running a little bit.
I've done some shows without you, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just not what I really want to do. That's the truth. So we're 164 episodes in. Let's say somebody's starting out, just like we were starting out. What is the piece of advice you give them?
Like I said, we say it all the time: be yourself. Don't try to be someone else because you gotta actually. If you're faking it, you're not gonna. If you fake it, you won't make it.
Well, this is the time when you don't fake it until you make it.
Because you have to concentrate 100% on what's going on. If you're uncomfortable, like I said, you know me, I don't wear suits. I don't like, if I'm sitting here in a suit and tie and everything, I'd be adjusting my tie the whole time.
March, you're going to be wearing a suit for that wedding we're going to.
Oh, yeah, yes. That's another episode, another 2 or 3 episodes.
We should do a live at their wedding. So for those of you who don't know, Nick and Mark, 2 of our greatest supporters and good friends, their impending nuptials are coming in March, which we've told them don't do. but they don't listen to
You
us.
ruin it.
Yeah, just don't do it. But they've been kind enough to invite us. Those are people who we've had on our show. They are guests, and we've become into their lives enough for them to invite us to their wedding.
Could you imagine doing a podcast and then inviting the two idiots from the podcast to your own wedding? That's how close they become family to us.
Yeah.
We say it all the time. We tell the guests when they're leaving here, you're now part of our family. We'll do almost anything for you.
Wow.
That's why I said almost.
Those two, they'll ask for a little. They'll go a little overboard and ask for something I cannot give them, especially Nick.
We've been invited to fashion shows.
Mm-hmm.
We've been invited to book signings.
Mm-hmm.
We're good friends with Charlie Cifarelli. It started New York Pitbull,
who is going to come back in soon.
Yeah, just the friends we have made.
It's great.
But we're talking about down in Florida, that one dinner picture we have.
Oh yeah, the one where there's like 50 or 60 years of prison time in between them, and here we are, two cops. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? That was that was so much fun. But from that moment on, everything changed.
Yeah,
it really did change for us. We just started doing this gradual incline to the point, 5 months afterwards, we get on camera. And then, for a year and a half later, season 4, we're fully on camera. We're rocking and rolling.
Do you think that Florida trip launched us? Do you think it showed you what we could possibly be? Because Tommy's shows had a lot of listens back in the day. And whether
it was it was eye-opening. It was an education, because each studio we went into, I looked around and I said, okay, they got a camera set up here. They got a camera set up here. We were auditing a class in college, in my opinion. Okay, this is how they format it. This is how they speak. These are where the lights go. These are, and I was thinking about this stuff because you and I had talked about going on camera, and I just didn't know how to do it. But just like when the podcast was first started, we had to learn. We had to learn. For us, it was the easiest thing because, again, no chance meetings. We meet Andrew, and it was the right place, right time. We were ready to go.
But they were on camera back then. MSCS had cameras. They had the producer. Remember the guy sitting in the corner?
Glenn Prada.
He was going to be like the president of Ecuador or something like that.
It's El Salvador or something like
that. Matt Cox, he had the producer there and on camera and all that. And that's when you get a feel for, we could probably do this.
Yeah, and that's I think, the launching part. So 3 years of doing this show, 3 full years of listening to some heavy-duty shit. So, Mike, what's the Suffering Podcast taught you?
Never quit. Resiliency. We've talked to a lot of people who've gone through things way worse than us. And you think when you're in your depths of your suffering, you think that there's no light. There's people out there that are suffering a hell of a lot more than you. I learned that I'm an idiot for feeling the way I do sometimes because people have it a lot worse than us.
Yeah, they do.
And again, what has it taught you?
To listen.
I've always wanted to say that. We're coming to the end of this. And I ask all the guests the same thing at the end. What?
You can't even do it with a straight face.
What has your suffering taught you?
It has taught me to listen, and it has taught me to allow the person sitting across from me to be heard. And I think that's a good place to leave it.
And compassion.
A lot of compassion. A lot of compassion.
Yep.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the Suffering of the Suffering Podcast. And let's think about what we learned, but it's going to be a little bit different today. I am going to read something by a young lady named Brianna Vigil. It's called Beauty in Darkness. I am a healer. For people like me, helping others heals myself. Even if in that moment, in time, I cannot find a way to be okay. Knowing that I have a hand in helping somebody get through it. I am a healer. I am a giver. So naturally, these are things that give me peace, even if I find myself in pieces at that time. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, get your digital business card, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount. Follow us on all social media. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast.
Fans only.
And fans only. Yes, of course. Go to our fans only page. And we'll see you on the next episode.